All right, welcome back to Prep Sports Junkies. I'm Scott Bernstein along with the big fella, Jeff Dulac. We're here every week at StateChampsNetwork.com breaking down the most pressing and important issues on the high school sports landscape. Last week we talked a little college recruiting. This week we're going to talk a little more college recruiting. Last week we talked decommitments from a player standpoint. This week we're going to talk about decommitments from a coaching standpoint and maybe what the ramifications are for the whole Big Ten. In case you don't know, the University of Michigan has vacated its scholarship offer to Southfield four-star running back prospect Matt Falcon, who's been committed to the Wolverines since last April. There are some people in the Southfield camp that think that possibly Harbaugh's entire offer and acceptance of Falcon's commitment back in the spring could have been some type of a publicity stunt. We can go into that a little bit later. But either way, we're sitting here now, third week of October. Matt Falcon, although he is still committed to the University of Michigan, he no longer has a football scholarship waiting for him in Ann Arbor. Jim Harbaugh has told the Falcon family that if Matt still wants to come to school in Ann Arbor, he can take a scholarship and it'll be a full ride,
medical scholarship
to go to school in Ann Arbor, but he will no longer be welcomed into the Michigan football family. And right now, best guess is that Matt will be looking for another school to connect with. I'm hearing that the most likely candidates are Northwestern, Wisconsin, and Oregon. Again, something we can talk about a little bit later. But let's kind of focus on what does this mean for the Harbaugh regime? What does this mean for Big Ten football? I am not a fan of hearing this, that Harbaugh has put a scholarship offer on the table and then taken it off before signing day. That's my take on it. But Jeff, kind of break down what your opinion on the situation itself and the ramifications.
I think the situation itself, I mean, it's an unfortunate situation. You never want to see a kid like Matt Falcon have a scholarship taken away from him. He's a dynamic talent. He proved that in the limited amount of time he had. He's been injured quite a bit. But I really think that this is kind of the rest of the nation type recruiting, the SEC type recruiting now making its way up to the Big Ten. Urban Meyer has done a little bit of it. Now Jim Harbaugh's brought a little bit of it. And it's kind of just the way recruiting has gone, everywhere else except for the Big Ten. It's an unfortunate situation, like I said. But Matt Falcon has, I believe it's 2 knee injuries. He's had an ankle injury. He's been very banged up, and it's more of Jim Harbaugh looking at his program and not wanting to take that risk on a scholarship offer for a kid who may or may not get hurt, when he gets on campus again.
Now, everything you just said is true. Now, the issue that I have is that you can't tell me that Harbaugh and his staff in Ann Arbor didn't realize back in April that you were dealing with a kid that had some durability issues.
Right.
As you said, he's been banged up a lot throughout his prep career. That said, he runs a sub 4.40. He's a blazer, the definition of a speedster in the backfield. But you can't tell me that Harbaugh didn't recognize the issues he was getting when he was making the offer. And again, I've heard some rumblings from some Southfield people that they believe this was kind of not in good faith, that Harbaugh had put the offer out and accepted the offer kind of just to get that, to be able to make that media splash with him coming on the scene in Ann Arbor last winter and wanting to get some publicity that he was getting some big-time recruits.
Right.
Falcon was a 4-star recruit, ranked in the top 15 in the nation at his position. And there's some people in the Southfield camp that believe that Harbaugh wanted to do that more for the media splash that it was going to make with his first couple months in Ann Arbor and trying to make a statement about him and his staff coming in there to do a resurrection job, and that the end, maybe the conclusion of this story was kind of known, at least that's what they believe. Right. The conclusion of the story was kind of known months back, that eventually Harbaugh and staff would come and pull that scholarship away, and that, like I said, it was a bit of publicity stunt. I don't like it. I just don't like, we were talking last week, I don't like the jumping around with the verbal commitments. And on the other side of it, I don't like the coach's ability to pull a scholarship. There's some ethics and morals at play here. And I think that's really what the ultimate goal is teaching, as a teaching tool with these younger football players. And I just don't think it sends the best message. But obviously, it's within the NCAA regulations on both sides, so it's more of an NCAA institutional problem, in my opinion, than, I don't know if you can blame individual players and coaches if it's within the rules.
Right. You look at the situation, and it's very possible that it may have been a publicity stunt. But I find it hard to believe that it was a publicity stunt, because I think any team in the country would value a talent like Matt Falcon's. I do believe a second injury that Falcon had this past season.
Just to let people know, Matt Falcon was injured again in the preseason of 2015 and is missing the entire his entire senior year at Southfield.
Right, and I do believe that that's a legitimate concern when a player hasn't seen very much of the field throughout his high school career. That causes some drawback for a college coach, and when you're trying to build a program like what Harbaugh is doing, and you pretty much need every recruit you can get. He's done a great job in Ann Arbor as of right now, but he's trying to get as many recruits that can help out as fast as possible. You know, having a guy who's very injury plagued may be what forced him to draw back. I don't like the rule either. I think that you should honor a scholarship, especially if your surgeons, which Matt Falcon told Alan True of Scout.com, that some top surgeons told himself, his family, and Coach Harbaugh that he will be able to return to playing football. With that being said, I think if you have doctors and surgeons on your side saying, yeah, you can play, you're going to be fine, it's going to be a long rehab, but you're going to be fine, then you probably should honor that scholarship. But the mentality of it from Ann Arbor is the fact that it's a guy who's missed large chunks of his high school career, and you know he's proven to be a little bit injury prone, and that's a big risk. Well, they should be forced to take the risk, in my opinion.
But you know what? You know what? If that's the case, again, they knew the injury issues. Yes, what happened in August happened in August, and he suffered another injury and is out for this year. But in my opinion, then they shouldn't have accepted his commitment. Because you know, another crazy thing, in my opinion, in the way that the NCAA with the college recruitment is that you know, you hear about, well, Ohio State offered so-and-so, and then so-and-so tried to commit to Ohio State, but Ohio State wouldn't accept the commitment. Now, I don't understand that either, but if that's the train that we're playing on, then if you're Michigan and you make the offer to Falcon and then he tries to commit, you say to them, wait, we're keeping the offer on the table. We want to see how you do your senior year. We want to see how your you know, the injury issue is playing out. And then after we're done with your senior year, then we'll either honor the offer or take the offer off the table. So, I mean, again, I think it's definitely an issue that the NCAA has to talk about. I think they should install an early signing period to get a handle on all these verbals, commitments, non-commitments, vacating commitments, and I think there might be something in terms of ethics and morals that, in my opinion, should maybe look at for, you know, if a school offers a scholarship, that it should be somewhat binding. But you know, again, that's here and there.
I will say this, you know, it's good that it happened now rather than, you know, a month before signing day. That Matt Falcon knows right now that if he wants to still play football, the options are out there. He can go and figure out which school he wants to go to. He should start setting up visits now and mull his options over. But you know, with his injury history, nobody can really blame him for choosing just to stay at Michigan, go to school there, get a great education at
I don't think that's likely.
Well, I don't
respect Jeff. I mean, that's not going to happen. He's going to go play football somewhere. I think it's either going to be Northwestern, as I said, Northwestern, Wisconsin, and Oregon. All three of those schools are really heavy in pursuit of him. I've heard that Wisconsin and Oregon were recruiting him heavily, even with the Michigan commitment. So I think he'll most likely be visiting there. And another thing I want to say to the Michigan people: you vacated the offer. You don't want him as a running back, but you know what? Maybe you come to him and say, you know what, Matt, we don't want you as a running back, but we think you have a ton of potential either as an outside linebacker, as a safety, and still at least try to partially honor the commitment and say, we want you still to come on board. We're just not going to play you at running back. We'll play you on defense.
Well, something I say, you know, to that theory is it goes back to the injuries, and maybe it is the concern of the injury history that Falcon has.
There's no question that that's the major issue here, and the fact that Kareem Walker, the #1 running back in the country, might be vacating Ohio State commitment and he's visiting Michigan, I'm sure played into this whole puzzle as well. But there'll be more, I'm sure, to report. We'll always be breaking down the most pressing recruiting issues. That's, you know, one of our go-tos here. And this was a hot topic. We were excited to jump on top of it, and I think both of us kind of take it from different perspectives, and I think that played out well for this episode. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Check back next week on StateChampsNetwork.com for another episode of Prep Sports Junkies. I'm Scott Bernstein, the big fella. We're out.